Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's PPG Therapy for PD session via Zoom tonight. We're so glad that for all of you can join us in person, and those who are doing this on your own, we look forward to, feel free to email with any comments or any suggestions you have for us. My name is Maureen McCumsey, and I'm one of the co-founders of Ping Pong for Good. And I'll have on the screen here Trent McLean, the co-founder of Ping Pong for Good, and Ryan Glatt, who is a brain health coach from the Pacific Brain Health Center. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to let Ryan tell you a little bit about what he's been doing with PPG Therapy and they're at the Brain Health Center, and some general benefits about playing ping pong.
Absolutely. Thank you, Maureen, for that introduction. Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan, and I work at
How are you?
Hey, Parvis. Good to see you. At the Pacific Brain Health Center, we incorporate ping pong into our sessions. We add cognitive and or motor tasks on top of ping pong. And for those that are very new to ping pong, we just focus on learning the game and incorporating elements of hand-eye coordination, rhythm, timing, and postural control into our sessions here at the center. So we're excited to bring this class to you, where we're taking some of those techniques. Of course, because we're on Zoom, we're limited in the physical equipment that we have. We're assuming most people will have a paddle and a ball, hopefully two. And then some people do have a table, a virtual reality headset, and other various pieces of equipment. Some of the benefits to ping pong, while research is limited, some research has found it can improve aspects of physical functioning and cognition. We assume that because of the demands of ping pong, it can improve reaction time, visual tracking and visuospatial movements, and different types of visually related cognition. It can improve coordination, both bodily coordination and cognitive coordination, anticipation, timing, and other things. We need more brain imaging studies, but theoretically, there's several parts of the brain that might be active during ping pong based on the different demands that it requires. In addition, it can increase cardiovascular capacity, balance, postural control, and more. And ping pong is being researched to see its effect on individuals with certain conditions, such as Parkinson's disease and Alzheimer's disease, to see if it can improve motor function, cognitive function, quality of life, mood, and more. Part of our mission at PPG is to further that research and encourage people to participate in the game of ping pong, either in a clinical or therapeutic context, or in a fitness or leisure-based context. Today is a little bit of hybrid of both, but mostly focusing on drills that you can do to hopefully enhance your game, get you into the game, and just generally turn on your brain and body.
Wonderful. Thanks for that great explanation, Ryan. And one thing else before we jump into our warm-up, I wanted to ask if there's maybe just remind everybody about some of the ground rules around playing and moving through these exercises today.
Absolutely. So what we want to make sure of is that we're keeping safety in mind at all times and at all costs. The problem with ping pong is this little guy, which is a ball. And because we're focused on the ball, we're goal-oriented. And when we're goal-oriented, all of our attention is on the ball, and our attention on our body tends to go out the window. So with that said, we have to often bring our attention back to the body. So we're not usually aware of our balance, our posture, or our movement. So if I'm bouncing a ball and the ball gets away from me and I'm reaching after it, trying to keep it afloat, you can see my posture got deorganized there. I was outside my base of support. Potentially, that could lead to a fall, a rolled ankle, me bumping into a wall. There's myriad things that could happen that aren't great. And so we want to be cautious of those things and not being a hero. That's a phrase we like to use, which means don't go after the ball if it's outside your bubble of control. Let it go. You should have a ball or two in your pocket, on the table, something nearby, just in case, so you don't feel you have to chase the ball. It's better to avoid having to pick up the ball if you can. And if you are going to pick up the ball, not bending over so much your head is like this so it doesn't disrupt the inner ear and the vestibular system and the inner ear fluid, making you dizzy. Some people have what's called orthostatic hypotension, where they change position very quickly. They get lightheaded, dizzy. Also, that can contribute to a fall. It's not a great feeling either. So if you're picking something up, hold on to something, pick it off the ground, keep a nice straight back like you would with a good squat. Also make sure that if we're teaching something or giving a demonstration of a progression of an existing exercise, in order to make it more challenging, that doesn't work for you, don't do it and keep working on the version that we showed to you prior. Always give yourself some degree of success. As a nice metric of success, you want 80% of it to be doable and easy and 20% of it to be challenging. That 20% will consist of some failure, meaning it's okay to drop the ball, it's okay to be frustrated. That's part of the effortful learning process that we believe contributes to positive or adaptive neuroplasticity, meaning we think it's good for your brain to learn new things that are hard. However, if it's too challenging, too effortful, and you want to scale it back, we have options for doing that as well. I think that concludes our ground rules. Maureen, am I missing anything else?
You nailed it. So now we're going to hand it over to Trent, who's going to walk us through some general body warm-up exercises.
Wow, I feel like I just completed a course after that. We're just going to start as you go to an activity. Usually you need to shift from your body and your mind from where you last were. And to do that, and the other thing with a lot of activities, a lot of people will hold their breath during those activities. So part of this shift is we're going to move the bigger body parts first, and we're going to start breathing and just getting the body just swinging the arms. We've got the feet, if you're comfortable, shoulder width or slightly more apart. And remember too, to always slightly flex those knees. So you're feeling very balanced and secure here, and just let that flow, just opening it up and get that breath going deeply. So I decided, and just go follow your range of movement. This isn't a stretch warm up. This is just a physical warm up. Get the blood flowing and get loose. So just go within your comfortable range of movement. Now just stop to center and just let's have the arms up again as high as you're comfortable going. Keep that same posture. Keep that same flex in the knees as far up. And you'll probably notice as you do this on a couple reps, you'll probably go a little bit farther each time as you kind of get a little bit looser. Up. And you feel yourself starting to heat up a bit. Now let's have arms straight ahead, knees still flexed. With your head, eyes straight ahead, take the left arm back as far as you can, comfortably, back to center, and then right arm with eyes straight ahead. Now, if you're comfortable, you don't get dizzy doing it, follow the left hand around, and you should be able to get a little bit more range of movement, back to center, eyes following the right hand back, and you get a little bit more range of movement there. Now let's get back, arms to your side again, and let's do some shoulder rolls. First forward, and just loosen that right up. Now let's reverse it. Okay, now I'm just going to tilt this down here for a minute so we can see the legs. Now we're going to simulate kind of the movement on the table. You're going to forehand to backhand side of that posture. We're going to go from center, right foot in, straight out, back in, left foot out, back in, right foot out, back in. Put your hands wherever you're comfortable. You can put them on your sides. You can let them hang. You could cross your arms, whatever you're. Put
them on a chair or the table for support if you need to.
Yep. So depending on how balanced you feel, whether you need that support, take it. Now back to center, left foot out to a slight angle. Back to center, right foot out, slight angle. Again, if you're moving in for that forehand or backhand, shorter shot on the game. Now back foot, left foot back, slight angle, back to center, Right foot back, slight angle. Now, grab a table or lean against the wall and rotate your foot 360 one direction. You can go counterclockwise using a wall or table for balance. Now reverse it. And then pronate it up and down. Again, just comfortable range of movement. And then tilt it left to right, so you get that full movement. Now let's switch legs. Go to the right foot, rotate clockwise. This is my affected side, so you can see that my control of doing a 360 is really quite challenged on the right foot. Now reverse it. And then now go to pronating up and down as far as you can comfortably move it. And then side to side. Okay, now shake each leg out with support on the wall or the table. Shake it out. Now we'll go back up to upper body to the wrist. Most important part of this. This one I like, Alex, it's one of Alex's favorites, just a little bit of a serpentine movement, like a sine wave. That's the way my heart looks after my ablation. Hopefully it still looks like that. And then reverse it. Now, left hand up, pushing with the right hand back. Reverse it, left hand pushing the right hand back. Now, hand down, left side, push on it gently. Right hand down, same thing, just push on it gently. Full rotation of both hands, one direction, then reverse it. Fingers out, and then shake them. Give them a good shake, both sides. That's it. So now I'm feeling pretty loose. I've done the big parts and the little parts, and we've got most of the parts ready for action on drills. And Ryan will put me through my paces. I'm just going to slide the table into view, and we start to build this up from the bottom up in terms of getting you ready to play the game and do all those great things that Ryan told us about. But we need to be able to execute these skills so that we can get all the benefits from them. So I'm just going to start with the ball.
Yeah, we'll start with the ball.
Ryan, just keep me on track here, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. Handing it.
So you're here. And then I gradually start to pronate as if we were using forehand and backhand movements, which you would do in the game. Just a small toss at first, just getting the hand-eye movement going, very basic. And then we'd start to do then start to be a little bit more pronounced with that turn, total rotation. And then we get something close to what would happen in the serve, where we start to do a little bit of a toss. Because as you know, we have to be at least 6 inches up in the toss to have a legal serve. And the good thing here that Ryan gets us to do many times is to do it on both sides, whether you have a dominant side or a playing side. And again, eyes following the ball right into the hand and leaving the hand as if it was leaving the racket or your opponent's racket.
If you want to slow down the speed or the tempo at which you're tossing the ball, this one being very fast, this one being a little bit slower, you can do that as well. Because your eyes will be moving somewhat with your head, perhaps you're standing, this could lead to some dizziness for some people. So go at a speed and pace that's comfortable and asymptomatic for you.
And just as you would be practicing to play, do that toss with your opposite hand. And just for sport, just to keep everything balanced, try it with your opposite hand and get that toss down. Because just as it is in golf, when you're serving the ball in the game, that's when you control it.
You can't go from seated to standing. If you lose the ball, don't chase it. Use your backup. You can also place a hand on the table for the hand you're not using while the other hand is working. You might find that placing the hand, even if you don't need it for balance, does help with some of the control and accuracy of the ball in the other hand.
Yeah, as soon as I do that, Ryan, I find I'm immediately more accurate with that toss.
That's right.
I'm glad it's doing what it's supposed to.
Me too. We can also work on a little bit of ball control, rolling it on the table if you do have a surface in front of you. So you can have your hands about shoulder width apart and just roll it from hand to hand.
And don't be in a hurry. The idea is to keep the ball on the table, no bouncing.
And this very rudimentary, seemingly basic skill can help with how you turn your hands eventually for things like topspin later in the game. In fact, if you brush the top of the ball, that's not too dissimilar from how topspin can be created when playing the game.
Yeah, and it's that motion of brushing the ball. And if you want a little variation of that, once you get that one down, you can meet the ball at the edge of the table with your racket, and you can do it just as Ryan described there and give it a little brush as if you were doing topspin. And again, keeping that ball controlled and on the table, no bouncing. I'm bouncing a little bit thereafter and make contact. And it really gives you the feeling of control and touch. Very subtle, nuanced. I never realized before we started getting into these drills just how finely nuanced this was and what it was, how much it helped me, when you're symptomatic or have tremors, how much this helps your focus.
Also very mindful activity, and it also helps you control power in the game. Many people just hit the ball too hard when really it's more of a lighter stroke, more like painting than it is like tennis or baseball. So now that we've done that, we're going to work on some ball bouncing exercises just using the ball and the table. Quite simply, you'll bounce the ball and catch it. Ideally, just letting it drop and then catch. That'll give you a little bit more time. Notice I'm not throwing it down, just letting it drop so it goes straight back up and my hand comes under to receive it. Switching hands. Okay, and we can alternate hands. So you drop it with one, catch it with the other. Drop it with the one you caught it with, catch it with the other. So now we're alternating. Not throwing, just dropping from above our head or at head height. If you want to make this a little more challenging, you can step in the direction that the ball is going. A little bit of coordination. Don't bump into your partner if you have one.
Now in the game, you're following the ball now from either the bounce being returned from your opponent or when you're bouncing it on your serve. Just keep adding to the complexity.
Good. If you want to increase the height of that ball, you can add a little bit more force. If you want to increase the distance in which you have to step or reach, you can do that within your safety bubble. If you want to increase the speed at which you're doing it, the velocity, that's fine too. This can become a very large, dynamic, challenging movement if should it be appropriate. I know what I'm going to do when waiting in line at the DMV now.
Maybe you can get the whole line going if you bring
That's
enough
right.
ball.
Yeah, I think we just found a new wedding dance. All right, very good. We're now going to bring in our paddle. You may have brought in your paddle when we were doing the ball brushing exercise, but now we're going to bring in our paddle and practice what's called ball balancing. So ball balancing teaches us aspects of fundamental face and paddle control, as well as some anticipation. So you're going to just place the ball on the paddle and just try to keep the ball from falling off the paddle. You can do this seated with a hand on the table, a chair, or wall, or you can do it standing, which most of you will likely elect to do.
And we're starting, Ryan, on our forehand side first.
Correct.
Just because it's usually easier for most people.
Yeah, and if we haven't reviewed it, you want to grab the paddle as if you're shaking hands with somebody, finger lightly on the back. Some people prefer a different grip. Now, if you do have some differentiation in the structure or neurological function of your hands, you can individualize this so it fits your grip. Do whatever is most comfortable. Don't try to conform into what we teach. Just kind of go based off what we're showing, then kind of some people self-organize into a grip that's a little bit more comfortable for them. That's totally fine. We do feel like the finger provides a sensor, so you can feel the vibration and control the paddle, helps to control it, where there's a lot more give this way versus if the finger is on the back, it's a little bit more stable.
And if you need a little bit, if you're having trouble keeping the ball on the racket, we put the cage over it. We've got the 5 fingers spread, and that should keep the ball in place. And as you get a little bit more steady, then try not to have the ball touch your fingers. If you're confident with that, you can just raise the cage a little bit above the ball. And the next step from that would be taking it away completely. Then when you get next week or the week after, if you feel good with that, you can actually start moving the ball around on the racket and just start balancing it that way. You're going to probably find you're getting, as Ryan had told you, a little bit more of your posture is interrupted as you have to start to correct yourself on that.
Yeah, it's great to start with a hand on the table as you're doing that, because it's very easy for you to go outside your bubble, which gets a little challenging for balance, easier to drop the ball in that case. So remember, we're walking a fine line of progression and regression, and don't feel prideful if you have to scale back to the previous version, which would just be holding it, standing up perhaps, or going even slow. Go as slow as you can and moving it. The first temptation is to go really fast, and that's something that can lead to something getting out of our control or potentially contributing to a fall.
Yeah. So you want to be, if you have this kind of control and this kind of balance, you're going to be in the position you want to be in when you're making your shot.
That's right. Now we can take the paddle and flip it over to the other side.
And
So
I know
facing
for
down.
me, yeah, I know for me, Ryan, this is my affected side. So backhand's a lot trickier for me to keep this in place.
Don't forget the cage in that case. We bring in the cage. Not getting frustrated that this might be harder than the other side. Backhand, forehand, left, right, there's going to be differentiations in all those configurations. So being patient, knowing that neuroplasticity line hasn't been really drawn yet in your brain, and giving that time and practice and effort for it to do so.
And then the improvement I look for is not so that necessarily my backhand will be as good as my forehand, just that I can try to improve my backhand from where the base level from where it started. Okay.
Of course, we can try that on the other hand. In the interest of time, we're going to move on. That's all right. Okay, so now if we want to progress this, let's talk about some ways to do that. So we talked about backhand, forehand. We'll now return to forehand. Okay, using the cage, standing if you feel comfortable in doing that. And now we're going to work with our movement of our lower body, not just our upper body. So of course we can have the ball here, and at any moment in time you want to invite the cage back in, you can do that because we're going to be moving, so it will be harder. So we can of course move our upper body, but you can move your lower body as well, stepping left and right. Notice I have the cage on to start. No pride here, just acknowledging it's going to be a little bit more challenging. Stepping very slowly, and now I'm moving my lower body left and right.
So now again, we keep building up the steps. So it's again simulating the game where we're going to have to move to wherever the opponent's taken us on the forehand or the backhand, racket preparation, hand-eye. There's a lot going on in this movement. Now, the other thing you can do on this is you can, if you back and stationary again, you definitely want to be balanced on this one with one hand on the table, where you're going to have the left foot in front of the right, first of all, but this one definitely needs a hand on the table or the wall. I've got my left foot in front of the right, touching my left heel, touching my right toes. And you could and then the other thing you can do is try it from the stance. You first start with feet shoulder width apart, try it with your feet together and notice the difference. Again, hand on the table or on the wall for stability. And just get a feeling for the difference in what happens to your balance and your concentration required with that different placement of the feet. Hopefully you won't be have one foot in front of you during the game, but it's a great drill. Okay.
Okay, so now let's move on to some ball bouncing exercises, shall we? So let's bounce. So before we did this without the paddle, now we're just introducing the paddle. So we're going to drop the ball, hit it with the paddle and catch it. Drop, hit, catch. Drop, hit, catch.
Forehand grip to start.
Forehand grip to start. Drop, bounce, catch. Drop, bounce, catch. And get at a rhythm where it's a very satisfying thing to do. You should sort of get yourself entranced within the rhythm. It's less about the chaotic bouncing and catching as much as you can, hitting it as high as you can. This is more about rhythm and timing. So you can repeat it to yourself at the speed, at the tempo that works for you. Bounce, hit, catch. Bounce, hit, catch.
And also when you're on the table and you're starting to play a game and you're just getting into your rhythm, it's just about touch and feel, not about hitting a slam for a winner. You're just getting into that rhythm and just smooth. And again, for us with tremor and balance issues, this helps bring you into rhythm. I find it really, again, through the focus and just that rhythm that Ryan's talking about. You start off nice and easy and smooth.
That flow state has a nice amount of neurotransmitters inside of it, dopamine included. It's very easy in the game to hit it as hard as you can, which can feel good. Don't get me wrong, I do that all the time, but it's about that nice flow state where there's a nice balance of challenge and skills, and you're really eliciting that rhythm, that timing, that attention, that consistency that's going to drive a lot of the benefits.
Let's flip to the backhand side.
Yeah,
it's a lot trickier.
Be more patient with yourself. Make that bounce a little smaller, especially coming off the paddle. For many of you, there may be less paddle and face control here. Reinforcing that rhythm, which could be a slower rhythm, bounce, tap, catch, maybe twice as slow or 1.5 times as slow as the forehand. That's okay. Once you start to get used to it, you can increase the speed.
Your eyes never leave the ball. You're watching the ball come off of that racket face. Which gives you the time to react to wherever your opponent is hitting the ball, so you can see the spin and the direction. Now, what we can do is a progression from that is to flip from forehand to backhand, but to again, not to put pressure on yourself. Go to your easy side first on forehand, hit 2 or 3, just easy so you're not rushed, and then hit a backhand.
Yeah. What I would recommend is you go forehand, bounce, forehand, catch, bounce, backhand, catch, bounce, forehand, catch, bounce, backhand, catch. It's a nice pace.
And again, if you feel that's a little bit much, do a couple of forehands if that's your easy one, and then switch. Do 2 or 3 forehands and then do 1 backhand.
Okay, the other thing you can do is focus on multiple bounces with one face. So I can do bounce, 2 or 3 with forehand, and then catch. You're going to be tempted to do as many as you can. I'm going to caution you not to do that. This is not world record setting. This is seeing if you can push your repetitions a little bit further. So set 2 if you just did 1, and do that maybe 5 times. 1, 2, that was 1 set. 1, 2, second set. If you dropped it, you flubbed it, maybe go back to 1, or be more focused or slower when going again. Work yourself up to maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. More is not necessarily better, and then switch to the backhand doing the same thing. It's very likely that some people might feel more comfortable doing 8 bounces on the forehand, 5 bounces on the backhand. Totally normal, especially if you switched hands, you can expect a little less on those repetitions if you're not used to it. Of course, seated, standing is fine based on your preference. It's normal to get tired as you're going through these drills. If you haven't yet, go ahead and switch to backhand. Multiple bounces. I find it easier to do 3 on my forehand, but easier to do 2 on my backhand.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then going to my non-dominant hand, backhand, is really demands a lot of concentration for me.
It's going to be very tempting to be very objective and try to get all of your non-dominant uses to have the same number as your dominant. That's going to take time. It's not bad to have that goal, but be realistic with that goal. Don't be frustrated when you can just do 1 or 2 on that non-dominant backhand or other hand. Of course, the more advanced version is drop, bounce, let it drop again, bounce on the backhand. So forehand, backhand, catch. Forehand, backhand, catch. This is going to be a lot more challenging because you're essentially flipping it into midair. Of course, you can regress back to some of the other exercises and not even catch it with your hand if you want to keep going and be more consistent. Getting into that flow state a little bit. All right, let's wrap it up.
Great. Thanks so much, Ryan and Trent, for that great demo. And Sharon, welcome. I'm glad you were able to join us. Feel free to unmute yourself. And I guess, does anybody have any comments or questions before we say goodnight and wrap this up?
Thank you. That was a good course.
Great.
Purvis, what do you have at home?
At
You have a
home,
table?
I didn't still buy the table. I'm waiting for the new robot to come out to buy the whole set.
Okay. So you're gonna get a full-size table?
Yes, I'm going to put it outdoor. I'm interested to buy it.
Terrific,
Yes.
terrific.
Wonderful. And I just want to welcome Sherry and Carol from Canada, who are running a PPG program up in Canada. And they were joining us today. And hope you'll be seeing more of them in the future. So just wanted to make those introductions. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, it's been great. Yeah, great to be here.
Wonderful. Well, I know we went a little bit long today, but we look forward to seeing you next week. We'll be sending out a calendar invite around kind of everybody to select their best times over the course of the weeks. And we hope to be in person beginning next week in February. But we hope everybody has a great week. And thank you, everybody, for
Thank you.
tonight.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you very
Welcome
much.
back, Barbara.
Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Good night.
Late.
Good night.
Good night.